What was your creepy unexplained experience as a child? I've told this before, but hey. When I was a boy of 12 I had a dream that I was standing near a house that was on fire. There was a little girl there who was much younger than me, about 2 years old. I thought she was there alone, so I held her hand, hoping to find her parents. She was watching the firemen. Eventually, one of the firemen came over to me and, for some reason, told me that I would one day have 2 children, boy and girl twins, and they would be my only children. He then took the little girl's hand and she walked away with him. This dream felt like no other I'd ever had, and because of that, I was absolutely convinced that it was real. Many times in the years that followed I told people about the dream, or that I knew that one day, I would be the father of boy/girl twins. Multiple people in my life have confirmed that I told them this. When I was 31 I got married. She gave birth to our boy/girl twins a few years later. Her father was the fire chief of the town I grew up in. It wasn't until my children were born that I made the connection about my wife's father being a fireman, nor the fact that she was 10 years younger than me. I had this couch with a couple springs missing. They popped up and my dad removed them from the inside, so you sat really low on that section, almost as if you're getting sucked into the couch. My brother and I used to fight over who had to sit there when watching TV downstairs. I usually made him do it. And #X200B. One day I had some friends over for a sleepover. I was on the couch, my buddies were on yoga mats on the floor. I felt a kick in the night, thought it was one of my buddies and told him politely to fuck off. Another kick, right under my back. How is that possible? I got up, turned on the lamp, and my buddies were both passed out. And #X200B. I went back to the couch, took off the cushion and looked. Nothing. Get back on the couch, turn off lamp behind me and try to go to sleep. It must have been only a few minutes when my one friend whispered who the other dude was when I turned on the light. I said, "What?" He said something like, "You turned on the lamp." I was pretending I was asleep because I thought it was your parents. I saw someone standing behind the couch. It wasn't your dad. We then all got freaked out, ran upstairs to my room and slept in there instead of the basement. A few weeks later I get home from school and my dad is tossing the couch in the back of his pickup. I assumed he bought a new one, but no, he said he was sick of seeing it in his house because it was his dad's, and his dad always used to rough him up when he was younger. Usually by punching/poking him in the back where his shirt would hide the bruises. I tried cutting grass on the side of a hill on a riding lawnmower when I was about 11 years old. It was too steep of an angle, and it rolled over on me. I was completely stuck. After a minute or so of wriggling around I panicked. The next thing I remember is standing up next to the mower after blacking out. I don't know how I got out from under, I assume adrenaline. When I was a baby me and my brother slept in the same room in an apartment with our pre-divorce parents. At certain times in the night, a shadow would go from the bathroom into my brother and I's room. It never really did anything bad, just walked around. Until one night when I started crying, my mom came into our room and saw the shadow standing over me and reaching for me. She didn't like that and so took us to local McDonald's. We soon moved out and haven't been there since. This probably has a rational explanation, but I never found out what it was. When I was 8, we lived in an apartment with very thin walls. I could hear the married couple having sex at night, all the time. It always felt funny seeing them the next day. One day I was sick and stayed home from school, but my mom still had to go to work. So I just remained alone in my bedroom, watching cartoons. I was really nauseous and drifting in and out of sleep when I heard a tapping. Initially ignored it, but the sound became rapid, more insistent. Tape tap tape tap tape tap. I was too sick to care when a deep, low voice said, "Hello." I froze in bed, believing a murderer broken in and the voice was coming from inside the apartment. But it was coming from the other side of the wall. He said lots of things. I don't remember it all. Hello. I'd like to meet you. Tell me where you are. I had been throwing up in the toilet all day and couldn't take any more, so I didn't respond. I burrowed further into my sheets and tried to ignore the voice. When my mom came home, she had Rocky Road ice cream because she felt sorry for me, and I was so excited about the ice cream I forgot to mention what happened. I can remember sitting in the hallway upstairs in my house when I was a kid and looking up and seeing two fully black people, shadow people I'd assume, run up the staircase in front of me into the bathroom. I followed and looked behind the shower curtain and nothing was there. Another day I was in the same hallway and glanced into my brother's room and seen a hand reach out from beside the doorway, in the room behind the wall connected to the door, and it was motioning me to come with long old fingers. It was just one finger pointing up, bending for me to come. I got scared and ran downstairs. I had a nightmare about a fire and refused to go to school the next day because I was terrified. Later found out from a friend that the science room I would have been in caught fire. Even as an adult I get crazy déjà vu to the point I answer my BF's questions before he asks. Edit. Spelling. One night when I was a teenager, my whole family had gone to bed. It was around 11:30 or midnight. My bedroom door was open, and I had a clear view of the dining room table from my bedroom. Everything was quiet and the house was very dark since all the lights were off, and we all suddenly heard the distinct sound of a kitchen chair scraping across the floor with some weight behind it, as if someone was sitting in it and scooted. Everyone was in bed and the dogs were accounted for. My eyes shot open and I was petrified with fear, and my dad got up and turned the lights on to see what it was. We still can't explain it. About 11 years old. Got up in middle of night to go to bathroom. Partway down the hallway and felt a force around me. I was frozen in terror in that spot for a moment. I was awake. 66 now and never have forgotten it. I had a bunch of memories that didn't fit. Like I remembered waiting at my grandpa's work for him to be finished. Or futilely trying to shovel the snow near their place. Or going to bed every night looking out over the field next to their place. No one ever talked about this though, so I was simply confused about it for quite a while. Turns out I did live with them when I was young, and for some reason everyone just assumed I would forget and preferred it that way. Sorry for my bad English. It was like 4 years ago. I was on a dream, but it was a horrible experience. I literally dreamt that I was sleeping. On the dream, I woke up and saw the clock, 2:01 a.m. I went to the kitchen, drank some water, and then went to bed. I woke up from the dream. I felt weird, but not freaked out. What I dreamed was exactly what I did some minutes ago. I checked the clock, 2:32 a.m. I went to sleep again, and I started to dream again, but this time, it was worse. In the dream I was literally watching myself, sleeping. I couldn't move, I couldn't control myself. Then, without my consent, I walked to the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and looked at the clock, 3:41 a.m. Then I walked to my room, with the knife on my hand. I knew exactly what was going to happen, but couldn't do anything. It was like I was watching someone else through his eyes, and before the worst thing could happen, I woke up, again. I was really freaked out, my heart was pumping hard, and I checked the clock again. 3:40 a.m. When I was about 10 I woke up in the middle of the night with a super bad side ache. I thought it might have been my appendix, so I woke my dad up, after crawling up the stairs in agony, and about 5 minutes on the way to the ER it just stopped hurting and I have no idea what happened to this day. I was 7 years old. I woke up in the middle of the night. It was 4 a.m. Usually when I wake up early I can't go back to sleep, so to pass the time I turn on my TV and watch Star Trek Enterprise on a channel called Jimmy. I got used to watch the series on that channel. While I was watching the episode, it suddenly went dark blue and dark silhouette popped on the screen. Then it started yelling some uncount gibberish while the background turned static and was trying to get out of the screen, I guess. I ran screaming to my parents' bedroom and woke my dad up and told him to turn on the TV, but there was only static. It was the weirdest thing of my childhood. Oh, I have plenty of those. This one happened years upon years ago, either in my early teens or just before. We were walking through the hall of our house at night, I just ahead of my mother, and I realized that she had stopped following me. I turned around, and she was stood still, staring at me blankly, her eyes unfocused. I asked her what was going on. No response. She just stared dispassionately. I began to feel like a mouse in front of a fox. As an overwhelming sense of dread/terror began to sit in my stomach, I noticed that her eyes looked blank. Emotionally dead. Closed off, yet somehow piercing. She stared down at me in an indescribable fashion, almost like she were looking through me and couldn't really see me, but was still analyzing me and the environment all the same. I repeated my question, and began to back away from my mother and her unnerving lack of expression. I informed her that she was scaring me, and pleaded with her to please stop whatever she was doing. She seemed to focus on me, then, but only just. Then, she spoke. She informed me, in the oddest, deadest, emotionally blank, disinterested, quiet tone, something like, "Don't worry. Mummy's not here anymore." I don't remember what happened after that. In all likelihood I bolted up the stairs and to my bedroom, but to this day she claims to remember nothing of the incident, and I'm inclined to believe her. Edit. Spelling/clarity. Further edit. Deleted something I misremembered. Woke up in the middle of the night with dry throat. Looked out my window to see my mother in her wedding dress floating and phased through my window. Her eyes went red, then she phased out and disappeared. Then I fell back asleep. When I was little I had an imaginary friend for about 2 years. When my mom finally asked me what his name was, I told her it was Xander. 2 weeks later we moved and she didn't tell me or my dad until I was at least 11, that I was supposed to have a twin brother named Xander. I looked through my old journals from when I was 7 or 8. I saw that I drew him with bluish skin, and a friend of mine told me that sometimes it means that either the person was drowned or never born. It really freaked me out. Especially the fact that I have no memory of it being real. I thought that they were just dreams reoccurring in different ways. And the fact that I've lived in 2 haunted houses doesn't help. Reposting. When I was a kid, I had lots and lots of plus highs. One of them was a talking Ernie, from Sesame Street, that wasn't functioning properly. You had to absolutely bang it on a table for it to say, "I feel great." Our old house in my home country was housed with spirits, but not bad ones, or at least that's what my parents said. LMAO. I never witnessed or felt anything until this one time. When I was 8, I overheard my parents saying something along the lines that my Ernie plushie spoke every time they talked about my grandma. I got irrationally scared, which made my parents hide Ernie in a huge box along with my other unused plus highs. One time when I was playing hide and seek, I was hiding with my childhood friend, Jay, in our spare room where the box of plus highs was. While we were hiding, I figured might as well tell him the story about the haunted Ernie and my just recently passed away grandma. In the middle of the story, we heard Ernie say, "I feel great," in the box on top of the shelf. There's no way that was moved. And even if it was somehow moved by gravity, you need to bang Ernie on the table to make it talk. We screamed and ran outside. An older student on the bus home jerking off, me being young and not knowing what he was doing and asking, and getting a thorough verbal explanation. Why was he doing it on the bus? Why was he being so obvious / not trying to hide it? Why was he so nonchalant about telling what it was and how to do it? You'd think he'd go for a hands-on demonstration, especially thinking he may have had predatory inclinations. Why not? How did no one else see him / react to him? Was he a demon assigned to me? Lived in a pretty rural area. Forested with a small brook. Chickens out back, garden in the front. Don't want to share a room with my little brother anymore. Get an old downstairs study turned into a bedroom. Very bad idea. Many years of creepy experiences that were all in my head from being on the bottom floor. 4 a.m. very dark. But doggo wants toilet. We don't have a door for him, so I have to let him out and wait, and let him back in. Dog walks into pitch blackness of front garden. I stare at the dark shapes waiting for him to come back. Suddenly from the drive to the left, a man-shaped dark smudge starts walking into the garden. Around a tree. Through the garden and round to the back of the house. I'm fucking shitting myself. No sign of dog. Dog is German Shepherd Rottweiler crossbreed. Surely he would attack intruder? Waiting impatiently for dog. So scared. Come on dog. Scary figure is here somewhere. Don't wanna be indoor waiting. The figure appears again, back the way it came. Why alright, onions have lair action. It's my uncle. Dog returns. No bark cause he knew uncle. Uncle leaves without another word. Okay, so the next day I question as to why the fuck my uncle turns up at 4 AM at our house. Apparently he feeds the fucking chickens, at 4 in the morning, and has been doing it every night for years. The part that remains unexplained to this day to me is why on earth he did it. He retired early so he had no work, and we lived way away, so why drive 2 hours in the middle of the night to feed the chickens? Why not just come in the day and say hello to his family? Weird as fuck. When I was 5 or so I was playing in the woods near my house. There was a stack of old roof trusses in a clearing where I liked to play pirate ship. I walked right up to the ship and just stood there, frozen to the spot. Normally I would have crawled up and started playing on top of the stack. I have no idea how long I stood there, but gradually I realized there was a snake directly across from me, staring into my eyes. As if it was inside on the ground, and reared up to be about 4 feet tall. I swear it looked like a king cobra, flared out and ready to strike. I came to my senses and hauled ass home. I never told my parents about the experience. As I grew up, I often thought about that experience, and wondered if it was a demon or some other supernatural creature, since there weren't king cobras in the US in the 1980s that I'm aware of. I'm late for this thread, but I hope someone will read it. During summer 2003 I went to a beach villa to pass my summer vacation with my family. Arriving to the place, I noticed that the whole neighborhood is empty and only us were there. I have to add that the villa is empty throughout the year and only get visited like 2 weeks a year. Fast forward to the day where I came back alone to the house after swimming, went to take a shower, and the bathroom doesn't have no windows. So while I was showering the switch got turned off, and I kid you not that I heard the switch sound. There wasn't even an electricity pan. So I was there standing in a pitch black bathroom while feeling someone there who turned off the light, and my first instinct was to start speaking and complaining about this old house electricity structure. I couldn't even dare to try to turn on the switch, scared of what I might see. I dressed up quick and went outside as fast as I could. Needless to say that this was just one event from many others during a 10-day stay there. I was being babysat with my mom's friends' kids, and we were playing some Xbox Kinect Sports whatever it was. The oldest brother then asks if I need to go pee. I say no and keep playing. In like half an hour he asks again. I say no and he says, "Welp, I need to. And it's easier to go in pairs, so come on, join me." I say okay. I was like 6 and didn't know better. So I go with him to their bathroom. We both take ours out and piss, and his is huge, and I ask why his is bigger. He says mine will be just as big someday. He was 16 at the time. He came out as gay like 5 years later. I've never told a soul cause it was so long ago that I don't think it mattered. I was outside my house, and an old stray dog was walking down the street. It was a blonde dog. It completely ignored me, and as it passed, at least the way I remember it, this blonde dog was suddenly a black dog. It was just for a second, but I know I wasn't dreaming. I still can't explain it. I and my cousins are all a year or so apart, so the 4 of us played often as children. We lived in an area that had once been fairly rural, so some houses still have 1 to 2 acre lots with a few families still keeping a horse or 2. One afternoon, we were playing hopscotch and eating wild blackberries at the end of the road near a fenced pasture. There was a small, long vacant house inside the gate. As we were playing, we heard hooves and turned around. Now, it wasn't uncommon to find the odd horse in the road, but that day it was a satyr/centaur walking on the boards of the front porch of the house. And he was very, very red. Think Tim Curry in Legend, but long before that movie came out, with the body of a horse and smaller horns. He asked if the berries were sweet and we all ran screaming. We could hear laughter and looked back, as we figured he'd jump the gate and chase us. There was another regular brown one next to him. They were laughing and galloped back across the field in the opposite direction. We are in our 40s now and still agree it was real. We all saw and heard the same thing. My mom kept trying to say we might have been tipsy on overripe berries or had eaten some mushrooms or something, but not all of us were even eating. I'm a germaphobe and wouldn't until they were washed at home, the berries, much less fooling with mushrooms. TLDR, my 4 cousins and I saw 2 mythical creatures and no one believed us. When my brother and I were kids, our mom and grandma left us in the car one day when they ran into the supermarket. There was an old-looking car like a Lincoln or a Cadillac parked nearby. A man in a zoot suit type outfit with a feather in his hat like a cartoon pimp would wear got out and went around to the back. He opened his trunk and 2 ladies climbed out of the trunk, a white woman in a black dress and a black woman in a white dress. Both were formal-looking dresses. The white woman saw us looking at her and stared at us. She kept staring at us for a minute. It was kind of an intense stare but also empty at the same time. I remember feeling nervous, so I told my brother to look away. He asked me why and I said just do it, and we both looked away. I have no idea, but I remember freaking out and for some reason really didn't want the man to see us too. I kind of sunk down into the floor for a few minutes and they were gone when I looked again. I asked my brother if he saw where they went and he said they went in the store. We agreed that was weird. We told my mom when she got back, but she didn't believe it and she and my grandma laughed. She said if anyone dressed like that was in the store she would have seen them. My brother and I have talked about it a few times since. He still remembers it clearly and so do I, but he says he didn't feel scared like I did, just thought it was really strange. I still feel kind of weird when I think about it. I was playing with my little cousins at their house while on vacation. They all remember it to this day as well. I was around 11, and they were 10, 8, 7, 6, and 5. The youngest had a toy parrot that spoke when you spoke to it, but the boys, 6 to 10 years old, broke it and its beak was pulled off, just revealing the mechanics underneath. It also only had one wing. Anyways, it was terrifying to look at and stopped working all the time. We took the batteries out and were gonna change them, but we started playing with other shit in the basement first. Suddenly, no one is talking, and like I said, it doesn't have batteries, and the fucking bird speaks. We all screamed and I snatched it up. We sprinted up the stairs, out the front door, and flung it in the dumpster as hard as possible. This was the same house that my sister and I were playing with my mom's old phone, one that could barely take video or photo, and we took a silly video of us dancing. In the background you can see one of those old antique dolls blink and move its head. The house was really haunted though, and we were never hurt or anything. We had multiple ghosts there.